going to go into more electric universe stuff here. This is a lecture given by Wal Thornhill, who is actually one of the head guys of the electric universe. He did computers and electrical engineering in the 70s and 80s. This presentation is trying to set up Saturn as a brown dwarf that turned into a planet. Also, Earth and Mars was orbiting around this brown dwarf, so we're separate from the rest of the solar system. And that Jupiter spat out of, well, one of the things that the electric universe has is the velocity theory of planet formations, is that planets are formed in the centers of like gas giant planets and spat out into the solar system. There's absolutely no real evidence of this. This will probably be one that will be broken up into many parts, like the one with Gareth Samuels, or I think that's his name, with see the pattern. It's a 45-minute long lecture. I've been off and on dealing with the electric universe almost 20 years. I went into an astronomy forum, an astronomy blog called, and they started posting there, and then into the forum that was associated with the blog, and they started posting there. So I dealt with these things. They're not even close to being right. They're not even wrong. They're so wrong. But, well, not even wrong is a quote from Wolfgang Pauli, who is a quantum physicist. It just means that it's so wrong it's not even wrong, like a flat Earth would be under this. But what the electric universe people do is they see a cave painting or a drawing and go, well, you see, this group had this legend and this must be true, so we'll shoehorn it into our theory. But I think it's about time to let Wal Thornhill speak for himself for a bit, and maybe do a little discussion of what he has to say. Okay.
The star Proto-Saturn. This is Saturn before it became a gas giant planet in the solar system. And this is a quote from Roger Westcott, the late Roger Westcott, who was a good friend and used to come to the Chronia conferences and actually spoke at one or two. Prehistory was a dream turned nightmare. Mankind forgot the dream because it was too remote, and the nightmare because it was too shocking. The prehistory that we have confabulated, however, is too bland to be believed. He was a professor of anthropology and linguistics at Drew University, Madison, New Jersey. What does the star Proto-Saturn mean? It means a star became the gas giant we now call Saturn. This claim is outrageous according to present-day cosmology and our understanding of stars, but it is supported by lifetimes of forensic research into the earliest recorded memories of mankind, and it is confirmed by the recognition of global prehistoric petroglyphs as representations of the many distinctive forms of plasma instability seen in the highest energy electrical discharges. It has become crystal clear that the legendary thunderbolts of the planetary gods were real, and they accompanied a major recent disturbance of the solar system. But perhaps the greatest puzzle for scholars has been the references to Saturn as the first sun. And in my home in Australia, the original inhabitants have legends of a time when there were two suns, a greater and a lesser sun. Details in their Dreamtime stories have no reference points other than in high-energy plasma experiments. They were not dreaming. My concern since I became aware of this evidence has been to make classical physics sense of Saturn as a star and to understand the sequence of events that led to the seemingly peaceful solar system we see today. So we have these big questions. Do we really have a 4.6 billion year old clockwork solar system? How do planets form? I beg your pardon? How do planets form? How did the atmosphere and ocean form? Was the past like the present? And I think from the evidence that you've seen that Dave Talbot and Nev Cochrane have provided, it certainly wasn't anything like the present. So if Saturn was a star within the memory of mankind, it throws some big questions into sharp relief. And in doing so, it throws a harsh light onto our self-satisfying fictional story of the Earth and the solar system.
Okay, now we're going to start talking about things. Aboriginal beliefs are fine for them to have, and the dream time is fine, but it doesn't mean it equates to high energy plasma physics. I don't think he actually presents any real evidence. He just says that. Not really. The thing is this is about the evidence of how things are formed and how scientists actually find things, and he doesn't really want to talk about that because there's a lot of evidence pointing away from his findings, such as we have observations of planets and even moons forming around other stars. There's PDS 70C, which is taken by the ALMA radio telescope in Chile, which is a bunch of dishes that are radio dishes that are pointed at the sky, and they take measurements of radio waves, and they're longer wavelength, but they detect relatively cool things compared to stars, but the difference in heat and energy given off by these objects. And here's the image coming up here, and you can see that you have the ring. That's where the planet's forming, one of the planets forming, and you see a little dot. That's the moon. Okay. Here's the thing, the way to see it is that science and religion are two different domains of knowledge, and they don't have much using science to talk about medical physical things is pointless, and using religion to discuss most scientific things is pointless. But that's the thing. But it also is there's no thing with Saturn is it's not massive enough to ever been a brown dwarf. A brown dwarf needs to be about 13 to 17 times minimum the size of Jupiter to be a brown dwarf. So Saturn's actually smaller than Jupiter. So it's not big enough. It's something like 8% of the sun's mass. So they're not big enough to be brown dwarfs. A brown dwarf, I should have discussed this first, but a brown dwarf is it's an object between a planet and a star. It can fuse lithium for a while and give off some heat. Planets generally don't give off their own heat unless it's from the stored energy from the collisions when it was formed. So, like Jupiter still has a lot of its heat from when it was formed 4.5 billion years ago. Like the Earth, underneath the surface of the Earth, we have a large mantle, a large magma chamber, or core mantle that has a lot of this stored heat. But there's no real evidence that Saturn was a brown dwarf on its own, and this is just conjecture of his to make it work, make his own theories work. And I'm actually coming up already to the 10-minute mark. I don't consider myself that chatty, but okay, I'll cut it off here for now, and we'll have another one in a little bit. Bye. Thank you for listening. Bye.